All right, class, welcome to our first video on our pumpkin carving project. This is a quick 2-3 day project. And at the end, we're gonna have something kind of like this, but you'll have your own shape of a pumpkin, own jack-o'-lantern face, etc. So we're gonna go ahead and close this out and we're gonna start from the beginning. So very beginning, we're gonna start with our untitled workspace. First thing we always do is save. So we're gonna hit the save button up here. We're going to change our location here. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call this pumpkin carving. And since this is for the video. Once I get the name of the folder ready, I'm going to go ahead and double click on it to make sure my location is correct. We're in my admin projects, pumpkin carving video. I'm going to change the name of the file from untitled to pumpkin. And then we'll go ahead and hit save. We're going to let Fusion do its thing. I want to see up here the orange Fusion block, the name change, and it goes to version 1 here. All right. So a couple things we want to double check before we get started. This project is going to be in inches, so we want to make sure in our document settings here, our units are in inches. That should be the default setting for students in my class. If for whatever reason you've not changed it, you can watch one of the other videos to change. But for this video, if this says millimeters or centimeters, hover over until this button here on the right pops up, then change your active units by changing it to inches. All right, so this project, while it's quick, has a lot of new features and skills that we're going to use. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a form. So instead of sketching, extruding, and whatnot, we're going to start by creating a form. So it's the one purple button here on the solid. It looks like 4 blocks stacked on top of each other, kind of with like a little explosion or starburst here in the corner. So we're going to left click on that. We are going to sketch and create our form, starting from the top-down view. So I'm going to left click on top here in my view cube to get that overhead view. And then I'm going to create a cylinder. I know it's hard to believe, but cylinder is the start of our pumpkin. So I'm going to left click on this create cylinder button. I'm going to left click on this plane here because this is where I'm going to start my object. You'll see my cursor now says specify center point. I like to always start in the origin, so I'm going to left click here. And then it changes the specified diameter of cylinder. I'm just going to drag my cursor out a ways and left click again. You'll notice before I left click a second time, my cylinder pop-up only has direction. But once I do that second click, I've got some options here. So my diameter, I'm going to change to 6 inches. My diameter face is going to be 8. My height is going to be 6 inches. My height faces is going to be 8. I want to make sure this says one side, circular, and 4 symmetric faces. These might not be the default numbers that you have, but once we're done, we're going to hit OK. For some reason, my graphics processor looks like it's going a little bit slow. There we go. And from the top-down view, my cylinder actually kind of is disappearing, which it shouldn't do, but yours should show a circle. If it doesn't, it's okay. Just to double check, I'm going to click on the home. I see my cylinder. You know what? I bet it's here. We're going to go with visible edges only and then go back to the top. There we go. That's what you should see. So I'm going to click on the home. And then I'm going to click on front because I want to do a lot of this next few steps here from the front angle. So the way we do this is we're going to manipulate the different horizontal lines here in this cylinder to get the shape that we want. I'm going to start by working from the bottom. So I'm going to left click out here in space. I'm going to draw and drag a rectangle to make sure I capture that bottom line. Once I've got it all the way across, I'm going to release my left click. Hard to see, but that line is turned blue. Now I'm gonna go up here to modify. And so this is similar to move/copy, where you've got the arrows, you can spin and move things, but this is modify within the create form. So this little center dot here, which once you hover over it, you get 3 triangles. This is where we're going to kind of shrink or move that circle in the shape of it. So if I left click and hold and move one direction, you can see it kind of billows out. If I go the other direction, it kind of sucks in. So this is the bottom of our pumpkin. And the bottom of the pumpkin always kind of comes to a point. So the closer we can come to the point, better. Once I get it pretty good, I'm going to left click and let it go. At this point, I'm going to left click out into space to unselect that line. And I'm going to move up one line. I'm going to draw that rectangle, capture that line again. And instead of clicking on the dot in the middle and going left and right, this one I want to make and bring it down to give this a nice flat bottom like a pumpkin typically has. So to do that, I'm going to click this vertical arrow and I'm just going to bring it straight down. Now you can see it's kind of rounded at the bottom, roughly what I want. We'll left click off into space. So now I've got the bottom of my pumpkin nice and formed. Now I'm going to start working on the stem. So I'm going to capture the top line of my cylinder, just like we've been doing. Left click, draw a line. And we're going to bring it in and make it narrow, but not as narrow as we did the bottom. So I'm going to bring it in. Sometimes it goes left, sometimes it goes right. You just kind of got to play with it, make sure it goes the right direction. Right about there, it looks pretty good. I can see my blue line there. I'm going to repeat for my second line down. This one I want to bring in a little bit further than the top was. Kind of give it that little hourglass shape there. And then I'm going to repeat for the third line down. So we do 3 lines worth here for our stem. I'm going to click on that center dot. I'm going to bring it in, kind of complete that hourglass shape. Then I'm going to left click off into space. So this I kind of call the garbage bag look. You've got, garbage bag. You've got it all kind of cinched up there. Doesn't really quite look like a pumpkin yet. So next one, we're going to capture that 4th line down. And we're going to make the top a little bit flatter. So just like we did at the bottom to make that flat, we capture the line. Then we use that vertical line by bringing it up and start to give it more of that flat look you'll see on a lot of pumpkins. Again, all pumpkins are unique, so if you don't like this shape, you can kind of go a little bit different. But it kind of has this look. Now we're going to go another line down. Maybe this one I want to make pop out a little bit, give it some roundedness to it. Maybe I want to add some roundedness here to the bottom. So again, I'm just capturing those lines and then using either the up and down to shrink that section, the left and right arrow to add some dimension to it, etc. So there we go. We got kind of a decent looking pumpkin. So I'm good with modify now. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I want to just kind of give it a little bit more character. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the symmetry. So I'm going to clear symmetry. Everything we've been doing up to this point was symmetrical around our pumpkin. And typically pumpkins have a little bit of more character to them. So now instead of being able to click sections, I need to really be careful and make sure that whatever I click, I'm selecting appropriately. So now, maybe I want to add a curve to my stem. So I select all of my stem, go up to modify, and then if I hit the rotate button that we did with our puzzle cubes to get those to join correctly, you can give it a little bit of a curve there. Maybe I want to make it a little bit higher. No, we'll just leave it right there. Maybe I want to bring this half of the pumpkin up, give it a little bit of character. We'll grab a little bit more of that pumpkin here. Let's see. There we go. So now our pumpkin has a little, Just notice what happened to my stem. We're going to leave that as is. So we'll leave it as is. I just undid. If you do something and you don't like what it does, undo. Don't continue to click and do more. So undo. If I orbit, you'll see the top of my stem is kind of open. Same with the bottom. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fix this top hole here. So if I go back to the front, I really just want to capture this top section. And here in Modify, I've got an option that says Fill Hole. Once I do that, you'll see there's a couple of options here. Reduce star, you've got a fill star, and a collapse. And you can kind of see what happens to it. So just play with it, pick which one you like the best, and now your stem is kind of more complete. Once you're here, you feel like you're relatively good with the shape of your pumpkin, you're going to go ahead and hit Finish Form. I've got a surface that intersects with itself. Return. What if we undo that fill? Maybe, is that where we were? Yeah, for some reason my fill didn't work, so we're just going to undo it. I will go back in afterwards and I will make it work, but that's how it should have worked. All right, so now I'm here. We've got our general shape of the pumpkin. We are good for this video. In the next video, we will work on cutting this and starting to add in some color.